Is it time? Is it desktop time? Yo. How you guys doing this fine evening? Alright, man, there's something to talk about for a gay of Sigomar. Imagine. Whiskey Lima was the first with Big. You can pass it off if you wish, you're cursed. I accidentally broke every scene slightly before this, no big deal. I didn't mean to throw you guys for a loop. I didn't mean to do this. It was a mistake. Hi, YouTube. It's supposed to be like, hey, we're going to record some YouTube videos because we're talking about news and Diablo 4 and the magic thing. Because I saw that SJ Arcade uploaded Ancient, me going over commander decks and collections and stuff. But those are all different now, and also there's a rules mistake in the video that I have since corrected, and so we can't have that. Also, I believe in the video I say the words SJ Arcade will just cut this out so that I look smart, and then he just didn't, which I think is funny, and I'm not upset. But I don't want to like give the wrong rules to people, you know? So normally, anyway, it's fine. We'll fix it. We'll fix it in post. Imagine editing. Yeah, it's just a full. I mean, it's a VOD channel. What do you want? Rules mistake. Yeah. What had happened was I thought that Garth One Eye, he has a bizarre rules interaction. What it does is you tap him, and it places a copy on the stack of a named card, and then you play that copy. And if it would enter the battlefield, it does so as a token. And I had put a card into that deck, not doubling the season, but something like that, where if you create a token, it creates 2 tokens. Doesn't actually work. You're not creating a token. It is a copy is entering the battlefield as a token. So you're not creating it, it's just showing up as one. And so that card would have no effect in the commander deck. And so that's the goofy rules interaction thing, which has since been fixed, basically like right after that stream, actually. But there it is. MTG is silly. Look, it all makes sense. All you have to do is pay attention. So if you're skimming, sometimes you miss a word or miss an implication or something like that. It's fine. It's not Magic's fault. It's my fault. I should have been more fastidious with those rules. Instead of getting excited and being like, ooh, I'm going to get 2 Black Lotuses. All right, you know. You found it while deleting old raw VODs? Man, these streams are big. They are big. They're hella big. Anyway, I'm recording this right now, so we won't have to get the shit proprietary Twitch encoding system. It'll be like good. So anyway, you're sick of GHBs. Can we make them Seasons of War and just keep them as a narrative thing? At least that way Joey was forced to develop the setting more. The issue is GHBs are like technically kind of narrative in that it's like, oh, you're in this realm and you get this ability for this thing, but they're not really narrative. They're very like, it's the matched play book. Like if you play matched play, the book you get is the General's Handbook. If you play narrative, the book you get is whatever the Broken Realms things are, you know, the Malign Portents, the All Points, you know, Broken Realms, Malign Sorcery, all that stuff. Or if you play a real narrative, you just make everything up towards your own narrative, and you don't really buy anything from GW. You just kind of do whatever you want. Getting it raw from Heywoah. Can we rephrase that? Is there a phrasing check we have to work on? Anyway, there's actual news. Holy shit! I get to press the button. Top story tonight. Age of Sigmar news. Saturday pre-orders. Seraphon Rule the Realms. They actually do. They're really good. Dawnbringer Chronicles Part 1. The Missive. And look at that. We got a Flesh Eater Court. We got a Flesh Eater. And the General's Handbook 23-4. Implicative in this title here is that we are, I can assume, probably, can I assume, based on it being called the General's Handbook 23-24, that we might be moving away from 6-month seasons and going to the old 1 year that everybody wants, kinda. Let's read on. General's Handbook 23-24, Warhammer Age of Sigmar prepares for a new season in Frozen and Tidor. Mortal Realms are on the cusp of change. Seraphon have returned with renewed vitality and better models. And Sigmar's Dawnbringer Crusades now forge their way into the dark to reclaim lands lost to the forces of chaos, carrying the blazing torch of civilization with them. Bearing Sigmar's light is no easy task, and those attempting to claim a foothold in Ghouls face resistance from savage beasts, like my army, and even the land itself. Look at that. Fabulous KO versus birds and goop, and a bunch of spells. We have emerged from the claustrophobic tunnels of Gillette into the icy tundras of Anditor, where sorcery runs rampant. In this inhospitable waste, frozen landmass, cracked and reformed, revealing locusts of amber magic to harness, realm gates to seize, and resources to harvest. More pylons.
Twitch Prime.
Rhinoceros Eruption, thanks for the big primer, I appreciate it. For 24 months. And a 1-month streak? Oh no. He got shot. But they can never take away your 24 months. Damn, that's almost 2 years. Which in the future will almost be 2 GHBs, maybe. Anyway, good comment. The Harsh Land is the setting for the next season of Warhammer Age of Sigmar competitive play, which runs for an entire year. This is an Earth year. Well, yo, hold on. Opera GX? You want me to... Okay. So, in like, search copy snapshot. Sure. That's pretty good, right? Briefly explain, translate, write a haiku. Damn, web browsers? All right, Opera GX, you win. Not sponsored, by the way, but can your browser write a haiku when you highlight something? Jesus Christ. This is an important change in format, as it means the new season is double the length of previous ones. This book will be the go-to matched play resource for twice and long. I assume they mean twice as long, but we could always write a haiku. All the way through to summer next year. You can still look forward to quarterly balance updates. Oh, keeping the good and changing the bad. Look at that. To ensure that metagame remains as balanced as possible. Also, Sandy but Dandy, thanks for the follow. Oh, and you got the one good-looking Zinchian model right on the front, looking nice in Pan's Labyrinth. Jonos Handbook Pitched Battles 23-24 concentrates on the wizards who seek to profit from the primeval magic that suffuses Anditor, as well as those who hunt them by using Nailstone artifacts to whether they're empowered in unbridled spellcasting. In a sense, we will be bridling them. In this battle pack, your wizard heroes with a wounds characteristic of 9 or less, who are not unique, no fun allowed, gain the Anditorian Locus effect. Each round, the player with the second turn can pick one hero to take advantage of the swelling magic in Andor with optimal focus. This is funny. All of this is funny. If they're an Anditorian Locus, they can cast and unbind an extra spell that round, battle round. Otherwise, they gain a free command point for issuing commands. Once again, I question the I question the wisdom in rewarding people taking the second turn each battle round. You usually want to do that. Like, the second turn in each battle round is the good turn to be on, in a vacuum. When it becomes not the good one is when you're currently getting double turned. And so they keep doing this. Their heart's in the right place. They want people to get, like, bonus effects and cool, you know, they want to give you a silver lining to getting double turned. And that's reasonable. I understand that. But for the most part, as long as there's not a double turn happening, it's rewarding the player in the better position. It's like you have the high ground, and then giving you an extra bonus. But that's, I suppose, neither here nor there. Also, can we talk about the year-long thing versus the 6-month thing? There's pros and cons to both, right? So, the good thing about 6-month GHB seasons is that if it's a shit season, at least it's over in 6 months. You don't have to sit there just sweltering in your own juices for an entire calendar year. At least it's over. Half as fast, right? Or twice as fast. So if it's a really bad season, you know, like, I don't know if there was an objectively bad season, but just pick the one in your head that you didn't like because your army wasn't good at capitalizing on it or whatever. Well, now it's all year. So that's bad. I don't think there are any other downsides to having it be 1 year. I look across the elephant graveyard of arguments for 6 months versus 1 year, and I see one upside to 6 months, and it's if the season is shit, at least it's over sooner. Everything else is a pure upside. You don't have to buy a $50 book twice a year. Now it's 1 year. That's great. If it's a good season, you get to be there longer. Great. If you are getting into the game and you bought yourself an army and you're trying to paint it up, by the time you're done, there's like a month left in the season, and then everything changes and maybe your shit sucks. So with a full year, there's less of that, damn, I just finished and they pulled the rug out from under me feeling, right? Yeah, it seems like only up. The only downside I guess I could think of would be purely for the people who play twice a week. It's like, if you're a tournament grinder in Age of Sigmar and you play all the time, you play constantly, it might suck for you if the format just gets solved, right? Which is why rotations exist, because it doesn't matter what your format is, eventually it'll get solved. This is just how metagames work for the most part. And so maybe it gets solved and then in 3 months, and now everybody knows how good everything is. You know the Jonos Handbook is not, there's not a new season on the way, and so it's just like, oh damn, KO are the best army. And the other 5 best armies are this army, this army, this army, this army. And then 9.5 months later, they're still just the best army, and, that's it. Now, they are still doing balance updates every quarter, so they can possibly fix that. Or at least do something about it. Because we're keeping the good part, which is quarterly balance, and getting rid of the bad part, which is every 6 months you have to pay $50. Now it's every year. This is also Games Workshop voluntarily giving up money. They used to take $50 from you every 6 months, and now they're deciding to take $50 from you every year. They're halving their General's Handbook profits on purpose. Oh, what's that? All right. Sorry. In future news, General's Handbook now $100. Damn, I need like a Norm Macdonald Weekend Update green screen background for that one. It can get stale at 1 year for the players that play a lot, but other than that, oh yeah, I agree. Renowns Eruption. That's like one of the downs. Rip Norm was a real one. True. Maybe one of the greatest comedy geniuses ever, perhaps. I don't know. I'm a fan. It should just say excluding the first battle round. Doesn't do anything for waiting to take the double later or not taking it at all. I think we should maybe... I don't know. What do you think about this? What do you guys think about this one? What if we all stop pretending in your life, in your day-to-day life? You pretend all the time to get by. Right? There's a lot of pretending going on. What if we pretended, or rather, what if we just stopped pretending that it wasn't just us trying to make the double not feel so bad? Why don't we just call it each round, if a player is currently getting double turned, they can do this? What if we just say that? If you're getting doubled, here, have a nickel, kid. Don't spend it all in one place. What if it doesn't necessarily have to be every second turn? It's just like, hey, you're having a rough one. You'll get through it. It's okay. It's a central mechanic of the whole game. You'll get used to it. You'll learn to play to it and play against it and play around it and play into it and all sorts of it. You disagree that having a changing meta is good for the game so that things don't get stale. You disagree that a changing meta is good? Or you disagree, like, period, next sentence, a reason you disagree is because a changing meta is good? I'm assuming it's the latter. I assume a changing meta is good and you think it is good. Because that's, like, obviously true. For the people who play all the time and the competitive players. For new players and people starting the game, that kind of thing is really rough for them. Me getting slaughtered, then GW hands me a casting roll to fail. Yeah, I mean, I don't play with a lot of wizards. This is going to be another season where I suck. But I've done a pretty good job being in a season that doesn't help me at all and just dealing with it anyway and driving monster trucks into people. You know, lean into your strengths. I used a blood pelt hunter once. He was pretty cool, you know? He got me some victory points and a grand strat. That guy was all right. My list was literally worse for including him, but it gave me some points, and so maybe it evened out. And then I started playing with Kragnos, and it was just way better, so it didn't even out, but still, it allowed me to play into the season if I wanted to. You're replying to Hades? Oh. Tomes you buy because of lore, GHB feels like a waste? Yeah, if you're not playing all the time, then a GHB feels bad to buy, right? If you play once a month, Jonos Handbook feels... That hurts. That's $50. You know, for $50, you can buy Betrayal at Krondor on goodoldgames.com 10 times over. Anyway, true. Speaking of Betrayal at Krondor, chat, I bought that game. I bought it. It was $4 or something. And so someday the meme will become a reality and I'll play it on stream and we'll watch the first person perspective, 7 pixels on the screen, using arrow keys to move around, reading pages and pages of dialogue. I wonder if chat will be able to sit through it, and I wonder if I'll be able to sit through it. I did as a wee lad, but can adult brain handle it? We'll see. Shamoose. You wonder if it was worth GW printing the GHB. Did it sell well? I don't know. Look at how much it costs, though. Look at this. That's a strong ring binder. The front and back pages on this thing are nice and thick. They have this extra strap thing. I mean, this is a lot of manufacturing, and it's full color. This is an expensive book to print. You could have gone with a soft cover, black and white, no bells and whistles, but they're juicing it up. Maybe their margins aren't so great on it, even though it's $50. Maybe let's record that one again for YouTube. Maybe their margins aren't so great on it, relatively speaking to how their margins normally are for Games Workshop products. There we go. We got the YouTube disclaimer out of the way. That's a more intelligent sentence, because this shit costs as SDR Arcade said, I can't imagine it costing more than like $10 or maybe $15. GW runs around 55 to 60 margin. I believe it's actually 30, all said and done. For the whole company, I believe it's a 30%, which is insane, by the way. Big companies, they would kill for a 10%. Like, that's normal. And Games Workshop is chilling at 3 times that. But they make a good product, so fuck them. And a lot of those companies that are running at 10% are so much worse. You guys are mad about FOMO boxes and plastic boys that cost twice as much as their competitors when their competitors' stuff is twice as worse, model-wise. Let's talk about a company like fucking Apple. It's not close. It's not close. But anyway. If 10th edition does well, we will get free PDF GHBs in the future. I mean, that might be it. $3,500 AR goggles in the future. Yeah. Built in such a way so that it's impossible or against the law in cases to try to fix your own fucking product that you bought.
We obviously know a little bit about what's coming.
Massive.
Big.
My word, it has exploded. Loads. So, we're coming a bit early.
We're coming a bit early. CGO Busta, thanks for the $5.99. Betrayed Krondor. Oh, all right, we're learning? Okay, we're learning about it. Thanks for the donation. Ahem. Betrayal at Krondor is an MS-DOS-based role-playing video game developed by Dynamix and released by Sierra Online in the summer of 1993, right after Richard Garfield put out Alpha Magic the Gathering. Betrayal at Krondor takes place largely in Midkemia fantasy world developed by Raymond E. Feist in his Rift War. Thanks for the little bit of trivia there. Based game. Are we going to see Heywoah buy those new Apple Dark goggles? For $3,500, I could buy a 4K editing workstation, desktop computer, with a 4090 in it. Or I could get some Apple VR goggles. I have no idea what Apple buyers are doing. How is this even possible? Anyway. You could buy Betrayal at Krondor 1,000 times. I could buy Betrayal at Krondor 1,000 times. You're right. Would the computer make you look like a fucking loser, though? Well, I'm streaming from it, and I'm wearing a hat that says big. So, I think we all know the answer to that question. And that question is, or that answer is yes. The computer does make me look like a fucking loser. But you know what? I would anyway. So there. Just got, thanks for the big primer. I appreciate it for 28 months. 28 month subscriber. Holy crap, I'm old? Yeah, you're old now. Once you get to 30 months, it's over. You're basically dead. It's time to stop counting. Buy it for all the flats? Yeah, one Apple headset for all the flats. I can't afford one. I just bought the computer I talked to you about. I don't get to buy anything cool for myself for the next calendar year. It's over. That's it. I get one. I get one cool thing a year, and that was it. If GW comes out with a brand new army that I love, I can't buy it until next year. And maybe not even that. If I keep playing Diablo 4 so much, instead of contract work like I should be. or streaming like I should be, or working on YouTube videos like I should be. We'll cut that part out. Anyway, where were we? In this, we read that optimal focus, like all things Gahur-ish, and Datorian magic is wild and dangerous, but a wizard who focuses their entire concentration on manipulating it can find their powers amplified beyond expectation. Okay, and so what should I expect? At the start of the battle round, after priority is determined, the player taking the second turn can pick one friendly hero on the battlefield if that hero is an Datorian locus. You can attempt to cast one extra spell, unbind one extra spell. If they are not, you get one command point. They can only be spent to allow the hero to issue a command. Okay. So if I don't have any wizards, I at least get an extra command point.
Oh, Lord. Oh, you are so big.
Ooh.
You are so big. So absolutely huge.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for the $10. I appreciate the donation. Dono for the AR Goggles Fund. Oh, okay. All right. The AR Goggles Fund, huh? Tell you what, if this YouTube video gets 1 million views, I will buy the Apple VR goggles. Consequently, as it happens, if you have a YouTube video that 1 million people watch, that's about what you make from it. It's like $4,000, give or take. Now sponsorship money, that's another thing, but I got to get me some of those anyway. So, I think it's cool that they're at least giving you something if you can't or choose not to lean into the GHB. This is a good idea. I like it because I probably won't have a wizard. Or rather, if I have a wizard, he certainly won't be a foot hero. Yeah, something to play TTS on. It's like the first person. We're going first person TTS, where I'm like on the stone horn and moving it around. There we go. That's some good gameplay. Players may also harness the primal magic of Andator, earning special dice, which can be used to boost for casting, unbinding, and dispelling. Wizards be warned, however, taming the feral magic of Gahur comes with the risk of a primal miscast. I hate, like, stupid miscasts, but I think normal people like those. Do normal people like those? Where it's like you try to do something and you failed, but it's not enough that you failed to do the thing that you needed to do. You have to suffer more for some reason, and it's just some, like, spectacularly bad thing. Do people like those? I think they're totally stupid. And, like, pointless bloat. We'll look at Primal Magic in an upcoming meta watch on the Jonos Handbook. Okay, so we're getting to that. Has he seen the spell yet? I have not. Have you gone over the AOS rules for the new Underworld's Warband for Night Haunt? Probably not. No. For some reason, they refuse to post those in the news section, and so I always have to look for them. I have to solve a puzzle to prove I'm a human and do a fucking maze or something like that to find those things. The Executioner, I think we did that. There you have it. We did that. I forgot that we did that, but all right. Apparently I did that. I can't remember. When you read this, I want you to remember that for BOC, the Zangor Enlightened Shaman on Disc of Tzeentch can get +8 to cast. Okay. Well, I usually don't get to unbind anyone unless they're straight rolling anyway, so it's whether they have a +3 or a +8, it doesn't affect me any. I can't unbind anything anyway. I can unbind stuff that people are straight rolling. Sometimes I can even unbind stuff if they got a +1 bonus to it. If your army has a +3 or better, that 3 might as well be 1 million. It might as well be techless autocasting, because you're just going to get to do your stuff and I have no say in it. which is fine because that was my choice. I chose on purpose to play an army that can't interact with my opponent in any meaningful way in the hero phase. I've chosen other phases to be good at, like the charge phase. Hoarfrost. Hoarfrost is a spell that has casting value of 8, range of 12, so kind of short. If successfully cast, pick one friendly unit wholly within range and visible, so friendly unit. Pick one melee weapon profile on that unit's war scroll and roll d3. Change the 2-hit, 2-wound, or rend characteristic of that melee weapon to match the result until the start of your next hero phase. This is like kind of a complicated sounding, or it's complicated to read, but it's actually really simple to resolve as I'm reading it. Roll a d3. Hey, it's a 3. Now I'm hitting on 3s instead of 4s. Or now I'm Ren 3 instead of Ren 0 or something. You know, you just choose whatever is best for you. That's cool. For example, if the result was a 2, you could, yeah, okay, we get it. Designer's note, an unmodified hit roll or wound roll of 1 always fails. Yeah, I mean, we know that, but it's good to point that out within the rule where you could, you know. -5 rend BOC armies. I don't know about that. I'd have to read exactly what the I'd have to read exactly what that Herdstone says, because this is changing the this is changing the characteristic. It's not like adding 3 rend. It's changing the characteristic. So it might just set it to the lower value. Anyway, I'd have to read that. We'll see. But either way, I'm not rolling saves against BOC anyway. It's probably not going to stack with another mod, but it would if that mod happens after you cast the spell. So if I cast this spell, and then I cast a spell to give me +1 rend, it will work. Because this just sets its characteristic. And once it's set, you can do whatever you want to it. You can add to it, you can subtract to it. It just overrides stuff that happened before. And continuous effects, I think, always happen before and don't get reapplied. I believe. Anyway, I'll have to check the tapes about that one. Casts on an 8, that's hard. That's hard to do. I want this spell because, you know, the spell I always took as Beast Claw before was called Rib Cracker. And it gave me +1 rend, long story short. And when they got rid of that spell and put it on the war scroll of only Gutbuster guys and left me out in the cold, I always wished I had that rend back, and I guess Hoarfrost is a way to do it. Problem is, I can't choose I almost said a Horcraft. That old meme. Anyway, I can't choose Hoarfrost because they nerfed Arcane Tome. Because somebody else was using Arcane Tome unfairly. And so I have to suffer for that. Like, one kid is acting out in class and everybody has to suffer now. It was sort of like that. So I still can't use this cool spell. Because the only wizards in my army are from Arcane Tome. Unless I want to play a garbage footman who doesn't even have the BCR keyword. With the 40 points I have left in my build. But cool spell. Hey, this is cool. It's gonna... Alright, depending on what you roll, there's a place to put low rolls and there's a place to put high rolls. So it's almost like you can't get screwed, although depending on what the unit you're putting on it has, I suppose you could get screwed, but... Garbage Footmen, new unit, yeah. 8 to cast is not reliable enough even with the bonus, of course. You have to pick it for your 1 spell slot. Yeah, but I can't. Armies with a really nice bonus to cast and melee stuff. To put it on might take it. Yeah, I wonder how many armies should be taking this. If you're chilling on a +2 to cast or something, then this becomes reliable. Who does that? Soulblight might do this if they're playing a corpse cart or something. Give those zombies Ren 3 or some nonsense, you know? Or Skella Boys or something else. Seraphon would do this because all their spells are silver bullets anyway, and they can get +1,000,000 to cast. Who else would do this? Lumineth would do this, I think. Although they're, you know, there's a lot of spells that are good that they can cast, but I think Lumineth might do this. In other words, the best armies in the game really like this spell. And all the crap armies either can't use it or would suck at using it. Good work. Armies without any spellcasters can take Nailstone adornments to weather the hazardous sorcery of Andator. The hand-carved Nailstone icon is one such enhancement, allowing heroes to unbind spells or dispel an endless spell with a chance of unbinding another. The bearer can attempt to unbind one spell or attempt to dispel one endless spell in the enemy hero phase, in the same manner as a wizard. Each time the bearer successfully does, the bearer can attempt to unbind one additional spell that phase. This sucks. This thing is trash. Yeah, this is bad. There's a heroic action to be able to do this. I'm not wasting an enhancement on it. It's trash. On top of this, there are 12 brand new battle plans and everything else you'd expect from a General's Handbook, providing you with the whole year's worth of content for competitive play. As with previous General's Handbooks, you'll also find the core rules and up-to-date profiles for universal, endless spells. It would be neat if you got it for free. You might get this for free. It might be like current season's just free candy that you get for Foot Heroes. But still, I would expect you to have a choice of 3 of these, and this one couldn't be the best choice, even if it's for free. No way. Skull Shards of Dragar. Rest in peace. First edition to second edition. Pro was taken 19 out of 24 times at Worlds. Pro, what do you mean pro? What's pro? P-R-O. Pro? Everyone getting Skull Shards of Dragar? No, Skull Shards of Dragar is good because it auto-unbinds. So you will actually unbind something. This thing sucks because 1, you still have to roll, and it's going to be straight rolling, which means it'll fail. And 2, you have this ability for free if you want it by spending a heroic action to do so. Now, sometimes that is giving up something you would have done, right, depending on your army. But, I don't know, enhancements are precious. So, I think if the situation arises, I'll just take the heroic action. Oh, you mean LRL, yeah. LRL is nowhere near the best army in the game. I think it's within the bounds of like top 6 probably. And it is a terribly designed book, but it has one list that's really strong. It's part of the reason why it's a badly designed book, but there's a bunch of other ones. Sword of Japan did nothing wrong, true. True. Same with Dimensional Blade and all the rest. Ethereal Amulet perhaps did something wrong. All right? Can we go that far? But oh yeah, and the brooch. The brooch might have done something wrong, depending. On top of this, there are 12 brand new, read that, regiments of renown. These are the boxes filled with, what, half an army, a quarter of an army, a third of the army? No, these aren't the things where you buy this if you want to play the army. It's the opposite, right? These are the mercenaries. But actually you buy these if you want to play the army, probably, right? Because mercenaries are shit and a bad idea and bad for the game. And as I'm looking at this, it actually features stuff that's like good. I'm looking at this, there's some boingy boys, there's a squig herd, there's a gobblepalooza. Bro, like that's exactly what you want to be playing. I don't think there's a bad unit in there for a Gits player. Maybe just buy this, right? If you're trying to like play the actual army. So even though they're supposed to be for mercenaries, which is a bad idea, maybe you just buy them if you're trying to start the army. Updated Warhammer, it's getting, it got pushed out by the 3 insane, really strong new books, and now it's just top 10. Okay. And top 10 is like half the armies, so maybe it's not a problem anymore. Like the previous regiment of renowned boxes, each collection fits into a core battalion that allows them to be taken in any GA army other than their home faction. Illegal to play this in your own home faction. I don't like that. Why can't I play this in the army that I have? Are you telling me Fire Slayers wouldn't be in a Fire Slayer army? What if... Look, I'll pay their price, right? Hiring mercenaries from your own country to join your army temporarily has a lot of historical data backed up, you know? You can do that. That happened, you know? I don't know. Kind of weird. But I guess I don't care. Hopefully they're bad, because I never want to see them, and I think it's a dumb idea. Warhammer has them at 16th, but there are a bunch all hovering around 50% plus or minus a few percent. Yeah, that's kind of like the point of it. They're trying to make everybody hover around 50% for the most part. Has anyone actually used the current regiments of renown? Not that I've seen. I haven't delved into the stats too much, but I don't think a lot of people use them, because usually they're bad. They just use them as discount boxes, which is good. Discount boxes are good, like good work. And just kind of ignore the mercenary thing. Alright, we got a bunch of Fire Slayers. I'm going to be honest, I can tell the difference. These are Hearthguard Berserkers. These are... Hold on, let me cook. I can do this. Hearthguard Berserkers. Auric Hearthguard. And... This is the third one that they have the Magma Pikes. Like these are Auric Hearthguard, and these are Hearthguard Berserkers, and these have 2 of those words of the 3 words mixed up. No, wait, they get a 4th word. Nope, I can't remember what these are. It all sounds the same. Pikeguard Berserker, close. 2 out of 3 are wrong. What is it? What is this one? No Googling, no looking it up. What is it? It's not Auric Pikeguard. Frontier Volkite Berserkers? Isn't that what I said? Wait, I didn't say that. Did I say Auric Berserkers? Volkite Berserkers, Auric Hearthguard. Wait, Auric Hearthguard, Hearthguard Berserkers. I said Hearthguard Berserkers. Oh man. That was the one that I really knew and I said it wrong. Alright. We did it. Delete this faction. And start over and come up with a better idea. And then we have Nurgle with Putrid Blight Kings. The wonderful... Dude, look at this guy. What a great upgrade. And a subtle... Okay. Not so subtle. Every time I try to think of Frank Frazetta's name, Fridge Frazetta comes out first, and I'm mad. Little Frank Frazetta reference. And then some Flappy Boys. This one's pretty good, too. Damn, I hope this guy's awesome. Tay Barracuda, thanks for the tier 1. I appreciate it for 22 months. Huge. Thanks for the long. That Harbinger has COVID. He's the Harbinger of COVID, yeah. It's just Death Dealer. It's Death Dealer 2. Sick edition. And we got Ghoulies, Crypt Honkers, and Crypt Horrors. No, wait, this is a Crypt Honker. These are Crypt Flayers, and these are Crypt Horrors. And this shit looks terrible. Look at this dude's chin. That's not his chin. I think that's actually his knee. The new Ghoul hero is at least higher poly. It has a higher poly count. Making them green, I think, is wrong. You should make them basically white and red, I think. Make them really pale, give them a lot of blood, red effects all over the place, maybe. I don't know. A good paint scheme can fix these just fine. Although this does look kind of weird. They're doing that Bart Simpson thing, you know, where he's just swinging his arms around. Ghouls should not have been made into their own faction. Fight me. I like the Flesh Eater Court's lore. So I think some faction with that lore should exist in Age of Sigmar. I just wish it had models. And then everything's amazing. Silly, fun. Everything looks great. Good work, Gloomspite. You also find 4 command traits for your Andatorian Locus. 2 new core battalions, 6 new grand strategies, and 8 new battle tactics. Alright. You like FEC models? Good. Because I like Beastclaw models. But it's obvious that the ogres riding on top of the monsters are looking old and goofy and kind of fugly. And I freely admit this, and Gutbusters look even worse. But I like them anyway. And so that's fine. Same thing could be true for you with Flesh Eater Courts. That's the VOD, folks. Thanks for coming. Hi, YouTube. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. There might be more. So far, so good. Going to a 1-year GHB is good. They're still doing quarterly balance updates. That's good. It's about wizards, and all the best armies except for KO are very wizard focused, which isn't a big deal. They can handle that in their quarterly balance if they want to. I'll just drive monster trucks into people. I don't particularly care. If I hate money, I might get the Goblin and Nurgle one. Good looking models in there. Yeah, it's confirmed 1 year, Meganosh. Confirmed. No more $50 every 6 months. Now it's $50 every 1 month. And by that, I really mean it's $0 no matter what, because imagine buying that. I do. But I bet most people don't. Nice, I might actually buy it, maybe, and we'll see. Hour late and you still made it for news, true. It's actually that the models are old, yes. Also, Mercenaries boxes filled with stuff that no one is buying. I think that was a very believable and understandable meme the last 3 times they did mercenary boxes. And those mercenary boxes in the past were filled with stuff that was so obviously no one is buying this. Could someone please buy this? That it was like comical, you know? This is better, right? People are probably buying this stuff anyway. People are definitely buying this stuff anyway, if they're playing Gits, right? This shit is going to disappear so fast because everything in it is beautiful, and like someone who doesn't even play the game and is just a painter would just buy it and paint all this up probably. Flesh Eater Court 1, I don't know how many people play Flesh Eaters, but you know. And we all know that no one is buying Fire Slayers ever. But it features units that are probably used in their army. Although maybe not. I think it's all Magma Drops. I haven't looked recently. You're buying the Nurgle box for sure. Frank is buying Fire Slayers anyway. Look, I buy Ogres. I know no one plays Ogres and they're an unpopular army. I get it. And yet I can still... You bought 4 once. One time. Okay. Let the record show. We'll cut this from YouTube so no one has to know. You wanted to love them? Yeah. Any more news? We watched that. New ways to paint Seraphon. Between cool or really ugly, one of those hairless cat looking ass paint schemes. But you can do anything. What went into designing the Seraphon miniatures? That stuff's kind of cool, but... Is there any other news? I'm going to check Discord. Do we have any other news? Any GHB leaks or anything like that? I don't think so. And... Oh, here's the Executioner guy. I think we did go over that on stream. I'm looking at it right now on Discord. Storytime with Lucky Heywoah. There's a lore article. Is this just lore? It's not that long. We could do it, right? There's 40k stuff if you want to learn. I don't. Personal news is Gillyman Flesh contrast paint over black primer is just black. All right. You think the council can all agree that everyone here is buying that Nurgle Harbinger model just to paint it up really pretty? If you're a painter guy, could do that. Let's do a pure lore article, right? The missive. Keep this guy in mind, I guess. He's part of the story. Ahem. Are we doing background music? No, I can't do background music because it has to go on YouTube. By the way, if I ever stream on YouTube, that's something you have to take into consideration. All music is banned. No music ever. Really strict guidelines about what you can do and can't do on YouTube. Ahem. The watchtower trapdoor was thrown back with an urgent crash as Captain Hazelwood came barreling to the top. Only Private Eisen was still healthy enough to remain on duty, and he glanced over his shoulder, revealing a stricken expression. Made Hazelwood sweat even harder. Have you got the viewing lens, Captain? Private Eisen said, shielding his eyes as he peered towards the south. I can't tell how many of them, but more than before. Hazelwood shook out the tube and pressed it to one puffy eye. The sickly fug, the sickly fug that had thickened over the stronghold in recent days made it hard to see too far, but sure enough, the light of Hish illuminated a gaggle of silhouettes cresting the horizon. More than one this time, he said, and they're different. Not a hoarse horn or unhallowed growth in sight. He let out a shaking breath. Could they be troops? Do you think Gyra changed their minds? Everqueen be praised? Eisen tapped 2 fingers softly against his heart. Don't count your chimeras. Let's meet him at the gate. Hazelwood replied, his fingers itched over the hilt of his sword as he headed for the ladder once more. The people gathering at Greenwater's gates were a shambling bunch. They wore rags from head to toe, which led Hazelwood to believe they were more refugees than reinforcements. Their leader carried a crescent scythe, over his shoulder, and from the amount of bones strung from it, he was a fighter of no small skill. The guards that were still healthy enough to stand had positioned themselves as far from this figure as possible. Hazelwood could hardly blame them. Do you think they were sent by the Faith? Whispers Eisen, his voice not as quiet as Hazelwood would have liked. Let's not speculate right in front of him, replied Hazelwood. Before approaching the band's hooded leader, he extended a hand. Captain Hazelwood, Marshal of Greenwater, your presence here is much appreciated. Ragged Warrior stared at the proffered hand and didn't move. Saliva glistened on his chapped lips. Please welcome my liege, Sir Geryon, wandering knight and friend of the people, rasped a hunched woman at the hero's side. Excited murmurs rippled through the gathered guards. He bears a missive from his patron, the Summer King. The good people of Christoria shall be saved from the foul curse that has befallen these lands. Hazelwood frowned and opened his mouth, but he was interrupted by a flurry of other voices. Is it true you fought off the plagued armies of chaos for 3 days and 3 nights? One of the guards asked, barely restraining himself from pushing the captain out of the way. I heard he slew Lord Wologax of the Blighted Hort in one-on-one combat, Eisen said, a great grin on his face. He's been rallying many nearby settlements against the despair plague. They say he's a miracle worker. Hazelwood hesitated. The heat of 100 eyes burned upon his back. At last, he let out a heavy sigh. I suppose an ally is a welcome addition in these beleaguered times. Summon your peasants to the square, good sir, rasped Geryon's handmaid. Our men shall prepare a stage. Our holy message shall stir their hearts. While Sir Geryon's followers were quick, they were not neat. The stage they were creating seemed more like a haphazard pile of debris than any true work of craftsmanship. Those settlers who had not yet been fully incapacitated by the despair plague were being shepherded into the square by the guards, though their faces were Though their faces were sallow, and their shuddering frames were hunched under the weight of the malaise afflicting them, they gazed upon their ragged savior with the intensity of a starving man staring at his next meal. Sir Geryon's lot are an odd bunch, sighed Hazelwood as he leaned against the watchtower's outer wall. Greenwater's only marked as Christoria on maps and history books. It adds to the grandeur, Captain, Eisen insisted. He was still standing to attention, his eyes following the proceedings with rekindled attention. If he wants to play the hero, who are we to stop him? Sir Geryon emerged from the crowd and hauled himself up the haphazard pile of timber. A hush fell over the gathered sufferers. The gathered crowd stared as an unintelligible babbling erupted from the lone herald. Their shock swiftly dissipated, however, as the sound gradually coalesced into words that instilled a strange sense of comfort in many who heard them. The Summer King offers you mercy. Hazelwood's grip on his sword hilt immediately tightened, his nails dug into the wood as Geryon's voice scraped the air. But all around him, he could see the settlers were enraptured. Hear now his message. Sir Gerion reached up to his scythe and pulled off a single femur bone, still slick with ichor. His sleeve fell back, revealing an emaciated hand that twisted the bone as if he were attempting to open a scroll case. Heywoah drew his sword. Guards. Gerion tipped back his head, letting his hood fall away to reveal the bald, distorted face beneath. He smiled with a mouthful of jagged fangs as he raised the bone and snapped it. Red miasma fountained from the bone like blood from a severed artery, billowing over the screaming crowd. Heywoah and Eisen charged towards Gerion, weapons raised, but the thick miasma forced them to stagger to a halt. All around, the shivering villagers let out wails of confusion. Some were desperately trying to leave, but a greater number urgently pushed towards the stage, and above all, Gerion's voice continued. I hear the voice of your suffering, O noble folk of Christoria. From the thick red mist leered one of Gerion's disciples. Heywoah turned just in time, feeling the creature's claw nick his cheek before he skewered it and pushed it back with his sword. Even upon the blade's point, the thing yowled and reached for him with bloodied fingers. I send out my loyal knights to save your great city. With every word, Gerion's voice became louder and clearer. Gone was his bestial wrath, replaced with the rich baritone of a man in his prime. The strangeness of this shift caused Heywoah to hesitate, just long enough for another ghoulish assailant to rake its filthy claws across his shoulder. He howled and clutched at the wound, blood spilling through his fingers. Settlers' screams were giving way to laughter. Joyous peals echoed throughout the square as the red mist thickened. Many were jumping up and down, dancing, or running towards the stage. Pledge fealty to the Summer King, and you will surely be saved. Heywoah felt a wave of agony as a wet splatter met his ears. The first ghoul had pulled itself free of his sword and plunged its claws into his side. He opened his mouth to cry out, but it was drowned under the jubilant cheers of the crowd. A few feet away, he could see Eisen's body lying amongst the churning mass of people. A woman was crouched above it. Her skin was scarred and pocked with the great despair plague, but the color had returned to her cheeks, and her eyes were aflame with passion. As Heywoah let out his last stuttering breath, he watched as she scooped up a generous portion of Eisen's flesh, raised it towards the herald upon the stage, before bringing it to her plump and smiling lips. He felt hot tears streak down his cheeks as the darkness took him. And that's what it's like to interact with the flesh-eater courts. How fun. Joyous, even. I can't believe they threw Fug in there to trip me up. This is the third Fug sighting we have seen since the KO book. They found a new word, and by gum, they're going to use it. The Fug, huh? Okay. Ahem. Summer King is a fine name for a, flesh-eater courtian kind of leader or god or something like that. Reminds me of the Crimson King. It's neat how seemingly Heywoah was starting to get snookered by the madness while he was still hostile, yeah. It was a good use of the incoherent babbling. And then the more he started to understand the words, obviously the more the grand delusion had taken him, right? It was a nice little progress bar that was being filled up in the writing. And not only could he start to understand the words, but they sounded good, eventually. Who up here choking they bug, yeah. And it featured the new model, right? Remember they talked about the guy with the big scythe with leg bones on it? It's this guy. That's he. That is him. Not bad. It's not like a cult you're buying into. It's it's like it's radiation. It's a miasma. It's a grand delusion. It's magic. You're not like buying it. You're being taken over. That's what it's like to become a ghoul. Wonderful. The plague of despair that the city was suffering under, it probably came from the Nurgle Harbinger as well. Just probably really far away, but still slowly infecting everyone. What we can glean from that story is, although it was tragic that the people in that town ultimately met their end at the hands of the Flesh Eater courts, they were slowly dying to Nurgle and Flesh Eater courts. So they were they were screwed. They were screwed one way or the other way. Like, it was not going to go okay for that town. I wonder which one would be worse. Could have been Ghoul Fever too, yeah, that's true. Didn't have to be Nurgle. What do you mean they met their end? True, technically some of them are still alive. Yeah, they have a new life under the benevolence of the Summer King. They're probably going to fare better now. You mean like be part of an army and maybe win a game? Or like survive better or something like that? Maybe. Man, the Summer King has already gotten to you, I see. You think Flesh Eater leaves your soul alone compared to Chaos, so you're going with them. Yeah, it's kind of like, remember Diablo 2? Not even death can save you from me, the classic line. It kind of is like that for Chaos, right? Although, I don't know, maybe not. It's hard to know what happens to his soul exactly. It's probably a lot of stuff can happen to it. Usually it goes to Nagash and then he makes some sort of death realm for you to go to, whether it be a good one or a bad one if you were good or bad. But I think that's only Shyish. I don't think that's everywhere in the realms, but maybe it is. Just weaker. If it's Aiden at Deepkin, they're like literally feeding on it, which is probably not a good thing. Other thing that draws you to Flesh Eater Courts is that the majority of these people are alive. They're just people. Yeah, I mean, you look at this and you think it's an undead army, but it's not. Ghouls are living people, technically. They're not undead. Ahem. Pardon me. They're like living people. No undead keywords found. Which is maybe more horrifying, I suppose. It would be cool if FEC had a leader that could see through the grand illusion and is using it for their own gain, like a worm tongue for Nagash. Yeah. There's a ton of like really cool ideas they could do with FEC. Yeah, it's a living death. It's not an undeath. It's a living death army. Here you go, Whiskey Lima. Quote, people, yeah. It thinks it's people. Too bad they haven't done a single cool idea with Flesh Eater Courts. They've done a lot of cool ideas with Flesh Eater Courts in the lore. But I want to see that translated. Traditionally, ghouls are like zombie adjacent, kind of. Like they're like a magical undead creature. Usually has a lot to do with cannibalism or eating people or something like that. Yeah, it's more of a premise, right? Just a shame their mainstay units are ugly old fantasy models that weren't good when they were new. That's sort of my problem with it. But, as always, you can paint them so good that it fixes it. I just wish they got a little more support from G-dubs. A lot of old factions with old fantasy models that didn't look good when they were new, waiting in line for their Seraphon update. Any Skaven players, any Ogre players, there's a lot of fine cast in both of those armies. There's even some metal. Flesh Eater Courts could do for an update for sure. I'd put them on the short list, really. Zombies are originally workers made out of the dead and only got the flesh-eating part in the 20th century. I'm pretty sure, maybe this is marketing spin, but didn't Romero kind of invent the idea of zombies eating flesh and brains? Like our modern idea of what zombies are is kind of a Romero thing? Or was it before him he just put it on the screen for the first time? It might be a check the tapes moment. But I think he can be credited. And then after him, for the next 50 years, there has been no significant improvement on the idea or concept of a zombie or a zombie movie. It's just copying him still. But someday it'll evolve, I think. 28 Days Later was close. If you count their fast as a major improvement, perhaps. These zombies run fast. All right. They learned cardio. Just in time for AOS talk? Wrong. We had AOS talk for an hour and a half almost. And it's over.